Ambition is a path to success. Persistence is a vehicle you arrive in. People always talk about how important it is to persist, how much of a virtue it is to be able to grit your teeth and keep moving forward. However, I never really listened to these comments, dismissing them as nonsensical lip service, up until I became immersed in the world of music. Hi everyone, my name is Mia, and I'm a 9th grader at the Western Academy of Beijing. Today, I want to share my personal experience of riding the roller coaster that is persistence, and how my experiences with music have shaped me into the person I am today. If persistence is a vehicle to success, then passion is a fuel. Everyone has something that can keep them rambling for hours, something they're willing to bleed for, something that stokes the white-hot flames of devotion inside them. For me, that something was music. Music has been a significant part of my life since I was a toddler. I was 4 when I started learning to play the piano, my first instrument. I was genuinely interested in the keyboard when I started learning. I wanted to develop impressive playing skills and sharpen them to the point of refinement. I practiced because I actually wanted to. I would sit before all those 88 keys, 52 black and 52 white and 36 black. My short legs dangling over the leather stool, studying the inner workings of this massive instrument for hours on end. During my first lesson, I counted all those keys and found that there was not one, but 2 middle keys, E and F. I thought that middle C should have been in the middle because middle was literally in the name. That was a bit of a disappointment for 4-year-old me. Still, I felt it then, that accelerating spark of embarking on a journey and discovering something new. However, that initial flicker of wonder towards my instrument was quickly stamped out by how tiring practicing was. I started refusing to dedicate any time to the piano, and when my parents forced me to practice, I just sat there, pressed keys, with one finger. I was completely drained of passion, and after 2 years of dealing with tedious practices and lack of motivation, I quit. During my time with the piano, I was constantly torn between quitting and persisting. Do I put out the fire I spent so much time nurturing, or continue fanning it, even if I lost the passion I once had? This dilemma would follow me for years to come. I picked up my second instrument when I was 10, the violin. I had too much free time in elementary school, so I decided to join beginner strings out of boredom. This club was loud and chaotic, but I genuinely enjoyed the few months I spent with the violin. In hindsight, it was probably because we only ever covered the basics of violin playing, never learning simple songs like Ode to Joy, and never progressing to advanced or even intermediate levels of violin playing. This was also around the time I picked up the saxophone. My dad likes doing this thing where, whenever he's interested in something, he convinces me that I'm also interested, so we can master this new skill together. Because he wanted to learn the saxophone, he persuaded me to learn this instrument as well. I started taking private lessons on the same day as beginner strings. 10-year-old me ended up having to carry a backpack and 2 heavy instruments on my bike ride to school. This weekly strain on my back was the main reason I quit the violin. I continued learning the saxophone throughout 6th grade, but now that I think about it, I only practice the day before a performance. Or when I thought my teacher would get mad at me if I didn't. The slides are messed up. Okay, so This is usually what happened when I tried to practice the saxophone. I end up doing everything but practice the saxophone. There was never any internal drive to practice, only external motivators like being part of the middle school development band and middle school jazz band. Jazz band was especially challenging because of the constant sharps and flats. Not to mention the confusing rhythms and annoying eighth notes. Stress was an unsustainable motivator, and I didn't think I would be able to play the pieces even if I did practice. So I never practiced for jazz band. During rehearsals, I would only play the long 4-beat notes in a confused haze while getting lost in the music. Not the good kind of lost. I literally lost my place in the music sheet because I didn't know what everyone else was doing. For a whole year, I did nothing but simply exist and sit there during rehearsals and performances. Teachers and students alike never heard me play. Any burning interest in music I had left was snuffed out without a sound. Now you might be confused. Why would I stay in band if I didn't even play? Well, it was an opportunity to perform pieces I considered complex music, which made me feel better about myself and my saxophone playing abilities. Though it was shallow motivation, it was still motivation and kept me in band. In 7th grade, there was a drastic shift in my life. I moved to Hong Kong. I decided to stop playing the saxophone, and I left it behind during the move. In my new school, I chose to play the trumpet because of prior exposure to the instrument in music class. I achieved a higher beginner level and was able to play easier pieces with a small range. However, I felt like there was something lacking. There was a giant, gaping void in my life I could never seem to fill. Slowly, I realized that I missed the saxophone. I missed its rich, vibrant sound, its golden tube, the vibration of the reed. I thought that my passion for the sax was gone forever, but distance brought fondness. I realized that I had taken my instrument for granted all along, and I missed it more than anything. So much so that I lost interest in the trumpet. My parents realized that I was on the verge of abandoning another instrument, so my mom brought my sax to Hong Kong from Beijing. Playing it again felt like reuniting with an old friend, and the slides are messed up again. Let's find, okay, we can't find it. Okay, whatever. Playing it again felt like reuniting with an old friend. It felt right and familiar and warm. At that moment, I realized that things like passion and interest wax and wane with time, but never fade completely. The experimenting was all part of the process of finding myself and growing up. It is important to persist through this process. Oh, I forgot the slides. Okay. My mom used to say in Chinese, 你做一件事情从来不会坚持下去，一直在浅水区，从来不会等到下深水区。你做一件事情应该坚持下去，不要什么都学，然后什么都学不好。In English, it means you must persist. You stay at the shallow end of the swimming pool, never going deeper than that. But you must persist. Don't learn everything, only to realize you're not skilled at anything. That quote triggered an epiphany in me. Hearing that, I started reflecting on my experiences with music. All these years, curiosity was what drove me to learn new instruments, but my unwillingness to persist always led me to giving up a few months in. I always found new hobbies and skills to learn, never focusing on perfecting one thing, never willing to practice at the cost of tiring myself out. With that, I finally realized the importance of persistence and my issues with it. When I went back to the school bands, I became determined. I wasn't afraid of playing anymore. I wasn't paranoid of making mistakes. And I stopped comparing myself to others. I used to be intimidated by other saxophone players when they were better than me. But now I just feel proud of being able to play as well as I can, even if I'm not a prodigy. After accepting that, I saw my improvement for the very first time. I saw how my sight reading got quicker and more efficient over time. I saw how my rhythm sense is more accurate now. I can hear the tone of my instrument getting better too. Sometimes you only see the progress you've made when you stop obsessing over the progress you've yet to make. My saxophone teacher, Miss Joyce, told me, when you master an instrument, all the other instruments get easier. And I think I really understand that now. When you hear about all the instruments I've learned, these experiences may seem like failures, examples of laziness or carelessness. But isn't failure just another stepping stone to success? Through trial and error, I finally found my feel. In band, I can see all the people around me improving at rapid rates because of persistence. There are little kids in band, and I watch them grow from squeaking and going insanely off tune to who they are now. Excellent, most importantly, confident players. They improved so fast because they were dedicated, determined, put time into practice every day. They inspire me to practice myself. There's also this girl in middle school jazz band. She reminds me so much of myself in 6th grade. She sits there and doesn't play. Maybe because she's not confident. Maybe because she doesn't know how. Or because she isn't confident in her playing. I always try to help her because I see her potential, even if she doesn't. And I hope this girl and every other person learning an instrument out there realize what I've come to learn over time. You have to be willing to keep trying. Don't think motivation just appears overnight. Don't think you'll find your passion overnight. It takes time. It took me 10 years. But remember to be confident. Don't be afraid of your mistakes and flaws. Persist because you will see a change, and you will improve if you stay determined. When you go home tonight, please practice and remember that the embers of passion will never stop simmering until you actively decide to put them out. Thank you for listening.